Alright, what's up everybody? Welcome back. This is basically just a part 2 of the first video that I did where I used wood instead of a 3D printed mold. So I must say, the quality that comes out with these is way better, obviously. The 3D molds and the steel molds, they're the best. I'm just going to do this as quick as possible. Everything you need is literally right here. And I'm just going to show this in a real quick way, how to do this easily, just like in the other video. So these are some of the kinds that I made, different variants. This is a large steel ball. These ones are a little tricky to make. They're very heavy, like 80 grain, ridiculous. Maybe don't use a ball this big. And then the open steel, so that's the closed one and that's the open one. You can do ones like that. And these ones here are 31 grain. This is just the clear, and I also used silver. This one's a 31 grain. This is in the silver. This is a 25 grain, and actually, hang on. I think these are like 22. I think these are like 22 grain. Yeah, 21.8, 22 grain, and these are around 15 to 16 grain. And I'll show you how I weigh them out. After they come out, I just cut them with the razor and then weigh them, make sure that they're all pretty much the same. Alright, so you can use just regular BBs if you want. You can use these ball bearings or different types of steel balls that you can find, different sizes. These ones are a little too big because they just don't get that much velocity, you know. I mean, they hit kind of hard, but they don't get much velocity because they're so heavy, so big. Definitely want them a little smaller than these, or use the aluminum balls, because those ones were steel. And so you can use the clear, the silver, or the gold. One thing I notice about these, they can be a little sticky. And also, you're going to need some oil. This is just vegetable or canola oil. You can use silicone oil, but sometimes these can be pretty expensive and you might not want to use all your silicone oil. There is a use for this though. Since they can be a little sticky getting them in. So what I did was, after I let these sit for like a day and let them all dry, I took just a little dab of the silicone grease and put it in there. And I put the cover on and I just shook them up really good. And so you can see they're a little greasy, and that way when they go in easy, they fly out easy, and you're not going to get a whole crap load of gook on the inside of your barrel. And people are wondering, well, if it's glue from the friction, are you going to get a bunch of glue residue in your barrel? It's not that bad if you have the modded barrel, because it's quite smooth on the inside. So basically all you'd have to do is just twist up some paper towel and stick it in there like this, and just keep twisting it and pushing it in and pushing it in, just like this. And twist, 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 pull it out, and then boom, you look inside. I can't get it on camera, but it's like brand new all over again. So it's not that big of an issue. You could put some paper towel at the end of a wire, or use like a gun cleaning kit. Easy, not hard to do. Alright, so pretty sure this thing is almost warm enough. The first thing you're going to want to do is oil these up. So you get a couple Q-tips. I'm gonna take my oil. I'll just do 3, since this is just a show. I'm not gonna do a whole bunch. So just oil them up. If you don't oil them up, you will wish that you did. So don't forget. Do not forget. You don't need to overly do it, because if you overly do it, some of the oil will end up sinking into it, and then it'll have a weird texture when it dries. So it's just enough to layer it so you can push it out no problem. That should be good. Also too, you just need like a nail or something small that you can push it out with from the bottom. And you want to keep it flat on the table. Alright, so what you're going to want to do is load it up really quick. Just press, 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 load it up real quick, and then when you get to the top, snap it away really quick. I almost hit the camera, but this works really good. If you pull it away really quick, it'll actually break the glue before it stretches and gets all over the place. So you just snap it away real quick. And then what you can do is you can take a Sharpie or something like this, about this size, and you want to put some oil at the tip of it, and when the glue begins to dry, you can center it and very gently press into it like this, like dabbing it, and you can make a little arch, a little pocket for the air. And also, it allows it to fit in the magazine better when it's like that, because it allows a little bit of flex compared to when it's a solid piece. And yeah, then it should be able to slip in no problem. If you don't want to do that, it's fine, but I find that they shoot better and they fit in better when you do make a little indentation in them. And also, you want to give the glue gun at least a minute in between each one, because it's not going to melt in time and you're going to be halfway through one and it's not going to work out good. So let the next bit of glue melt and get ready. So that one's just glue by itself. And then now I'll take a BB. You just want to take the BB, drop it in there, make sure it's centered. You don't want to touch the BB with this because it'll pick it up. So the same thing, just load it up quickly. When it gets low like this, just put in another stick like that, because if you don't, you'll be halfway done one and it'll get messed up. So I'll redo that. Just when you're filling it up and you get to the top, just like this, you just snap away really quick like that. And see, no string, no mess. And if you do it right, sometimes you'll actually get just a natural indentation. You can see the indentation on the first one. If you're happy with that, just keep them like that, but you're gonna have to cut them unless you make it perfect. You make them perfect each time, but I always end up cutting them to make the weight just right. That's why I do the indent. You put it in a little bit. So once this one starts cooling a little bit, I'll show you. So as long as this thing has oil on it, it shouldn't be a problem at all. You just center it perfectly. Just dab, 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 dab. Just center that perfectly. And then when it dries, you can pop it out and you can cut it. So it's basically the exact same process with the bigger one. It's just the bigger they get, the more careful you gotta be, and you gotta make sure that you don't get any air pockets or touch the metal itself. So this should be hot enough to do another one now. And make sure you wipe off the excess so it doesn't get messy. So see the ball in there? I'm not gonna touch it because I don't want to move it. I want to keep it centered, and I just fill it up really quick with it almost touching the ball in there. You just want to fill it up. Keep the nozzle in there till it gets to the top, and then snap it away really quick. Snapping it away breaks it, and so there's no mess. If you need to do a little top up, just stick it back in, snap it away. If you go too slow, it'll stretch and it'll get all over the place. So there, they actually look pretty good. This one's almost ready to pop out. So I just oiled this again. I just roll it in just a little bit of oil. I got a little bit of oil over here on the table, and just roll it in it. It's so it doesn't stick to it. Just give it a little dab, dab, dab. Alright, now the first one we could probably pop out now. Now you want to do it easy so you don't mess it up. You gotta make sure that's cooled enough. So do it nice and gently. There we go. Here it goes. Look at that. It actually looks pretty damn good. And so what you're gonna want to do with that little nipple looking thing, just take your razor blade. Make sure it's nice and sharp, and just saw it. And you want to do it near the edge of the table so you can actually be level with the cut. And so now what I can do with this is you can kind of see how it fits in like this. So when you load them too, you're going to want to load them from this side rather than this side. This side, the end is smaller, so you want to take it like this and load it in this way. And you can see it fits in pretty good, but if you're okay with them just like this, then whatever. But if you cut them very nicely and you have the weight the same, you'll get a lot of consistency with your shots. Got 17.3 grain. I like keeping them around 15 to 16 grain. They shoot really good at those weights. So every millimeter is about almost a grain. About a half a grain to a grain, depending on what kind of glue you're using. But you basically just want to cut it by a sliver and keep it nice and straight. Do it towards the edge of the table. Again, this is all preference. You don't have to do it this way. This is just the way that I do it. And you want to find the side that's sticking out the most, and you just want to saw at it. Use a really sharp razor. Just saw at it and push down lightly and just skim it off. Make sure that it's nice and straight. Now if you have like a really thin wire like an old cheese cutter, that might work for this. I don't know. So anyways, take off a little bit of that. If it's a little lopsided, if you have, if your table's a little bit rough like this, or you have some surface you can use, don't use sandpaper, it makes a mess. You just rub it a little bit, flatten it out, just rub the side that's a little higher than the other. Try to make it as flat as possible. And then you want to take your razor blade, and you want to take your razor blade, make sure it's nice and sharp, and just So that's not too bad. And then you can just pop that in there. Make sure that it fits good. Boom, it fits good. That one's actually not too shabby. I'm trying to do this as quick as possible. So then we just weigh it again. 17. 17's a good weight if you can make them all 17. So you can easily take off too much. It's hard doing this on camera, but you can see took off 2 millimeters there, maybe 3 millimeters, and it ended up taking it way down. It's about 1 grain per millimeter. That's what I notice. So if you don't have a scale, that's how you know. It's about a grain a millimeter. So when they first come out, when they're just straight up just glue and it goes to the rim, it's like usually 17 to 18 grain. So if you're happy with that, or if you want to skim them a little bit, you know roughly what you're going to get for weight. This one turned out pretty good. It turned out quite good. Look at that. See, there's that little bit of indentation that I put there. I'll cut off that excess. So if you like doing this, I mean, I love doing this stuff, right? But if this is not something that you would like doing, if you think it's too tedious, just go buy the ones that are made by a factory, you know. But if you like doing this, I find it's quite fun, and if once you get going at it, you can pump them out pretty fast. I mean, I made all these in about, I don't know, a half an hour. I did them up pretty quick. There's like 20 of them there. And you can reuse these. So that one turned out pretty good. See how much it is with just a little skim. That one's 23 grain. That's actually like perfect. 21, 23, right around there. They shoot really good. Just gotta make sure that they're flat on the back so that way they fly straight. Try this last one. It's the bigger one. Actually turned out pretty good. $31 right on the dot. Well, almost. But yeah, you could skim a little bit off that. I find around 30, 31 grains. They still fly pretty good and they hit really hard. Not bad. So yeah, you just want to make them perfect as possible, and then you get really good at it, and then you can just make as many as you want. You can reuse them, and yeah. So the big one, if you even want to attempt doing the big one, it's the same process, obviously, and when you put this in, you can put a little bit of glue down there, snap it back real quick, pop it in, and then do the rest. Or just put it in like this, and then work your way around the edge, and then fill it up as much as possible. Once it starts cooling, you gotta dab it with your finger. It's quite tedious. These are actually really annoying. It might be a little easier if they're slightly smaller. These ones are 11 millimeter, maybe 9 millimeter might be better, and yeah. So these ones are pretty easy. You just pop it in like that, fill it up, try to make it straight as best you can. This is not going to go very far, not very aerodynamic. It's just going to be a really hard hitter at like 20 feet probably. And then this one is the same, but I put a little bit of glue in first, pressed it in, and then I filled around the edges. Then when I took it out, I had to slightly dress it up around the edges, and then dab, 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 and then check to see if it actually goes in properly. And it does. And having that silicone grease on there, it actually works really good. And if you have a hard time getting these out, just have your thing nearby, and you can just pop it out, no problem like that. I remember that little trick that I told you, but it only takes a little dab, a little tiny dab, like a pea size, in there, shake it all up. Then they get very nicely lubricated, and then you can just pop them in there like it's nothing. You just go right in. I'll just put in a bunch of different ones so you can see. You want them to go in with ease, but be snug. They need to be in enough on this, like this way, to be flat, or they're not going to revolve properly. So when you slide that in, it should be able to Just like that. Easy peasy. Alright, so let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks for watching. I'm glad you came by. Give me a like, subscribe if you want, and yeah, there will be more. Peace out, y'all.